This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning everybody and welcome to the sunrise safari or pre-sunrise safari here in the Western Kruger. My name is James Hendry and on camera is David. Well done David, very nice thumb there, nice gloves. And if in the Marcy Mara we have got, I forget exactly who's out, Brent or Jamie are out this morning, and we will have Tristan on bushwalk. You might ask yourself why I've chosen to begin the morning here in the middle of a thicket. Well, there have been bushbuck shouting very loudly during the course of the dawn or pre-dawn, and we're wondering if perhaps there isn't a leopard in here. In fact, we're pretty certain there is a leopard in here. Can I find it? No, I cannot. Please talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on YouTube. And we've come in here and we're just sort of swinging the thermal camera to and fro to see if we can't find some sign of a leopard. Anyway, can't find anything just yet. We have got Tristan sitting back at camp, poking his head out of the camp to see if it walks past the camp, and we'll go round towards the Jumadam camp and see what happens that side. Okay, let us reverse. Try not to attack anything with the car and be attacked by anything with the car. I mean bushwise, that is. It's a little bit chilly this morning. I think probably about 14 degrees Celsius or so, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about 58 degrees Fahrenheit. 1457 apparently. Sounds like a date that I should remember, but don't. And there is a little bit of technical glitch going on with the Mara. It seems to be a universal principle that in the mornings. Oh, big rock, blanket around my feet. Okay, let's just have a little squiz-wazzle through here. I don't want to blind all the guests who are slowly rubbing the sleep out of their eyes here at Gallagher Camp. But you know, leopards must be found and they'll benefit in the end. Now, this is not a bad place to look because, of course, our camp, our sort of rooms are not too far from here, somewhere through there. I see no leopards at this stage. And I also hear no more bushbucks alarm calling, so let's continue. Bushwalk, of course, will only be out once it's light. If they were to go walking now, they might A, trip over a log, or B, be eaten by a hyena. Suppose they could walk with a torch. Haven't seen any tracks either. I suspect whatever this is, whichever leopard it is wandering about very close to the camp in the little riverbeds that run in front of camp. Abby, sorry, am I ready for what this morning? A jig. No jigs this morning. I'm not really a morning jigger. Only evenings. Ali is possibly referring to my somewhat awkward performance in the tent yesterday evening. Nothing that could be done, you know. I was put on camera without my knowledge. Just happened to be doing a jig at the time, you know. I'm sure jig every so often. Thank you, Faith. Faith says this was a wonderful jig. She is, of course, directing. I can only think that that's because she's being very kind. I imagine it must have looked a little bit like Rumpelstiltskin. I don't know, not a lot of animal life going on here, possibly because the leopards have chased everything away. So for the next sort of 2 weeks or so, it's going to be pretty dark at the beginning of drive, and then it will brighten up after that. Lauren, you're asking about the leopard dynamics here and whether they occur in other places. Yes, you know, to a greater or lesser extent that they do. Leopards definitely have individual personalities. I think you'll probably find that all animals have individual personalities. Not sure how individual the personalities of amoeba are, for example, but you know, once you get to larger animals, I think everyone has their own personalities, and that is certainly the case with leopards. So, does this dynamic exist exactly as it is here in other places? No, probably not. Do different kinds of interactive dynamics occur between leopards and other places? Absolutely they do. I think the unusual parts of our dynamic here are the fact that Hosana is, well, he's 2.5 years old and he's still at home basically. He's got seemingly a slightly unusually social approach to life, but that's not to say that there aren't other young male leopards who would also be quite social. And certainly, you know, if you go and talk to guys who worked at Londolozi or Singita or Mala Mala, where they've spent a lot of time around leopards, or Tristan, who was at, you know, Simbambili for a long time, you will always find interesting stories about leopard dynamics and things that confound the textbooks. So the thing that's confounding the textbooks about this one is the fact that Hosana at his age is still kind of seeking out company of other leopards, and sometimes us, I think. Amy, yes they do. They absolutely come into our camp, especially the socialite. We had an amazing time with him the other day. He arrived at, we've got these new rooms quite close to where the DRC is, or where the final control is. He pitched up there. He looked into Eggsy's room, and then he went around the corner and looked into Jerry and David's room, and then he went around the corner and looked into Kirsten's room, where she was sitting at her desk or on her bed or something, and she saw this leopard peering in her window. Then he walked between them, and then he walked across between our two sets of rooms and out almost through the staff village of Juma, and then out into the field. So yes, absolutely. We found his tracks outside the final control before. So yes, they do come into our camps. And it's always a good idea just to remind yourself, of course, that these are wild animals, that they are not animals that should ever be considered tame. And it's quite tempting, especially with the way that we talk about them. You know, we talk about them and see them every day, and we know that they don't react to us at all in vehicles, and we claim that they enjoy our company sometimes, but these are wild animals and we mustn't ever forget that. Alright, I believe that they've managed to sort out the technical glitches in the Masimara. Let's go across to Brent Leo Smith in 10 seconds. He is driving. I am sure that he is full of joy, and hopefully he's dry.
Morning, and welcome to a very damp and chilly morning here in the Mara, but with all the rain last night, we have some lovely lion tracks. So the majority of the migration is up to the east of us, and I'm hoping these lions are close by. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have the big man James on camera, and let's go see if we can find some lions. What's that over there? See there? Remember, this is all 100% live. A little bit to the right. Down to the right quite a bit. Where those trees. Okay, come a little bit more right. And back out a little bit. Wait. No, it's a bush. It's a bush. It's not a lion. Okay, now decision time. So the tracks are heading in here. Let's go down the Kampia Mungu Road. What I'm hoping is that it's so wet that they might come back to the road. Looks like, oh dear. Right, let's just double check. There's tracks all around here. Now we've got tracks going in the opposite direction. No, going that way. Okay. We're gonna go roundabout here again. You can see it's very wet again. Whee! You can slide your way around the corners. There you go. You hit the brakes and then you can slide turn. Okay. Now, on this hard stuff, the track's quite difficult to see. I could just see where the wet mud... Oh, there we go. We've got more tracks up here. Of course. They're now going the other way. Let me just have a quick look. Good morning, my safari. Do we get kudu in the Mara? Not in the Mara Triangle. They've been extinct in this area since the 70s. See, now I got to find a place to... See, these look a bit better going this way. I will answer your question in a second. They've been extinct in the Mara Triangle since the 70s, when the poaching was quite bad. They were poached for meat. They used to only occur up along the escarpment where the trees are and down south in Girare. Apparently there are some moving north in the Serengeti and in the far east of the Mara and the far south amongst the hills around Ulamwintia. Apparently they have been seen. I have not seen a kudu in the Mara since I have been here for, well, the last while. Sorry, I thought I saw something in the grass. Now with this dull light, it is quite difficult to spot things. I'm just going to have a look. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, we're going that way. Let's just double check. So the tracks are heading into this muddy patch. Yeah, they go through. Woody, yes, you get a lot more rain in the Mara than you do at Djuma. It is a much higher rainfall area than the Lowveld. Don't worry, Tristan, I won't get stuck. Hold on. There we go. Yes, so the Mara can receive about 1,000 mils a year, whereas Djuma will probably see 350 millimeters a year. We are much higher here, where average height around the Mara is about 1,400 to 1,600 meters, whereas at Djuma you're very low, you're 500 meters. So we're high, which generally means you get more rain. On average, we're much cooler throughout the year, but the temperature doesn't change too much because we're on the equator, although when you're wet, it's always cold. Now I wonder, is the lion lying under the big fig? Unfortunately, if he's gone beyond the big fig, it's going to be very difficult with this wet ground to follow up towards the escarpment. I'm not even going to try. All I will do if I go up there is to make Tristan laugh, because I will almost certainly get stuck. Okay, let's have a quick look around here. I was hoping you might have flopped down this massive tree. Got some hardy-dars. I'll have a look behind it. And there is no male lion here. Okay, let's send you back to James, who's still driving around in the dark.
I am still driving around in the dark, but we've heard that Tingana was sawing or calling, or a leopard was sawing or calling from here just 3 minutes ago, naturally, when we could not have been further away from here. So we're going to stop and listen now, and we'll shine the Thermalvlieg camera around and see if we can't spot him. So Kirsten, who's yet to raise herself from her bed, has managed to hear him calling somewhere here. That's the camp you can see there. Now I don't want to move from here, I want to stay precisely where we are so that we can hear him if he calls again. Chances are if he's calling, he will call again. So chances are he's calling from some thick bush nearby. Definitely what those bushbuck were shouting at earlier on. And frustrating as it is to sit and not actually move, I think it's quite important. We're scanning with the infrared, scanning with the spotlight, scanning with the FLIR. Bob, they must, by default. Lion and leopards don't live in exclusive parts of the reserve. And so you will find, well, leopards are smaller cats, they have smaller territories, and so there will be a number of leopard territories within lion territories, but they will avoid each other, of course. They don't mark territory to exclude each other, although, lions will exclude anything they can from their territories. But the average lion-sized territory here is about 3,000 hectares or 10,000 acres. And the average male leopard territory is about, what is it? Let's call it, Tingana's is about, Tingana's about half that size. So, yes, they do overlap. And I'd say Tundy's was about a quarter that size. Sorry, Faith, I missed the name there. Lynn, you're wondering about the future, and if in the future Hosana's desire to be around other leopards could cause problems. No, I don't think so. I think that as the hormones of adolescence start to course through his body, as they will begin to do now, I think you'll find that he will become less and less social. He'll become more and more like his father. I don't think he's ever going to have that reaction to people on foot that his father does. His father really doesn't like seeing people on foot and will actively move away from people when he hears them coming. I'm not sure that Hosana will be like that, but I think he will become much more distant from other leopards, and I think that he will seek a bit more privacy as he gets older. We're going to sit here for another 1 minute and see if he doesn't call again as the light slowly starts to come from the east. One or two francolins are starting to call, the odd arrow-marked babbler. Nothing seems to be alarm calling at this stage, though. Song of Rain, we haven't been using the drone because the drone pilot is on leave and we are on what is known as the post-television skeleton crew. So everybody is all their hands on deck for TV. And after last Saturday, there was a pile of people in a great state of exhaustion. Most of them went home. And so flying the thermal drone is not a luxury that we can afford at this stage. Also, we couldn't fly it over here because that would wake up all the guests in the camp. And I feel that that would be unfair to expect them to wake up to the sound of 1,000 angry bumblebees. Oh, Tingana. Maybe let's move on. I think let's carry on, David. We shall continue, everybody. we'll drive around towards the clearings outside of camp. We're in that slightly awkward time of the day when the spotlight is not particularly effective anymore, but it's not quite light enough to see properly. Good morning, Natal Spurfowl is what's calling there. How typical that this leopard should have ceased its calling as we got close. Also, seeing tracks in this light is not very easy. Try we shall and try we must. Well, I see that Leo Smith is still also driving and searching, so let's go back across to him. It is going to take 10 seconds to get to him, so I'm going to waffle further about absolutely nothing for another 3 or 4 seconds. Goodbye.
Well, we found a carcass but no predator, and this was killed I think quite early last night because I can't see any tracks. The rain has obliterated them. So could be lion, could be hyena. It's not uncommon for the predators to just abandon a carcass like this. I'm sure the vultures will be waking up shortly and taking advantage. Hoping for a last minute lion roar this morning, but alas. And how I know it was killed during the night actually is if you look at the face. If you have a look particularly at the eye is still intact, which tells me that it wasn't done during the day, because otherwise the scavenging birds would have picked the eye out. So sometime during the night, I would say when it was raining hardest last night was probably around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock last night, maybe a bit earlier. So I'd say that's when that poor wildebeest
Sorry about that, everybody. As I say, a couple of technical glitches there in the Marcy Mara. Not sure why that happens almost on a daily basis. I think it is something to do with the vagaries of the cellular networks there. One day it shall become slightly more reliable. Thankfully it was almost entirely reliable during our TV shows of late. If it hadn't been, well, there'd have been hell to pay. Mr. Wallington does not like a crash cut. With good reason. Now I'm driving very slowly, hoping that this leopard will pop out. I wonder if he hasn't perhaps got a little kill inside this thick bush here. Maybe that bush buck that has ceased its calling on account of the fact that it is now expired. Shuffled off this mortal coil. Patricia, much later than you think it would, is the answer. We always start speaking about spring around about this time of the year. The knobthorns get their flowers, and a few leaves get a bit green, and there's a little bit of colour from some of the flowers. But until we get proper rain, the grass will remain brown, and so it doesn't look very springish for some time. And in fact, you know, if it doesn't rain before November, which it probably won't too much, it will look like a bit of a moonscape by the time we get to that part of the year. I think we're going to have a wet year this year. I have no scientific reason for saying that, other than we've had a particularly kind of, well, I mean, we've had an oddish winter where There have been a lot of cold fronts coming through. No extended periods of blue skies and clear, cold winter mornings and very pleasant warm afternoons. We've had only a few days like that, and I think it's going to be a wet one this summer. Still, no. Robert, I think the highest point in the Kruger National Park, if I'm not mistaken, I keep forgetting this, I have forgotten it actually, I think it's about 800 meters, which is not very high. You can work that out in feet yourself. It's a kopje, I think near Pretorius Kop. A kopje is a sort of, I don't know, outcrop of rocks. On Juma, the highest point is I seem to remember it being around about 416 meters, which again you could work out in feet if you'd like to. There are lots of hyena tracks all over the place. There are no leopard tracks at all. And I know that this might be a little bit frustrating for you, everybody, but this thing has been right here, right next to camp, shouting, making bushbuck shout. It's very frustrating. And absolutely no actual sign of him. Let's just wait here for 1 second. There you can see the lights of the camp twinkling. See if we can't hear him. Spotlight is now entirely superfluous. Superfluous, not illis. Sorry about that. Now the bushwalk is also about to head out because it has become light enough for them, and I'm sure they are going to do their best to help us here, so I don't think we're going to go too far from this vicinity. No shouting. You got him there? Is that bushwalk? Seems to be bushwalk in the thermal, everybody. Let's go to the thermal, have a look there. There they are, just getting themselves ready. I can hear Herbert discussing with Tristan. It wouldn't be quite fun to see a leopard sloping towards them. That'd be quite cool. There is an animal alarming in front of us. I'm going to move forward. By animal, I mean squirrel. Not an enormous animal, but it is an animal nevertheless. We watched Hosana kill a squirrel the other day. I'm not sure if you were watching or not. It was quite something to see. He spotted it, chased it. It tried to go up a tree, grabbed it off the trunk, and then pretty much swallowed it whole. It's calling down here. We can escape. They do to a certain extent. They'll curl up in thickish bush and try and be in warm spots, but you know, everything eventually gets the same temperature out here after a cool night out. So they do to a certain extent try and find the warmest, most sheltered spots. But their priority, of course, is avoiding predators, not staying warm, because it doesn't get that cold out here, despite the complaints we make. I'm just going to quickly talk to Rexon on the radio. Rex, audio of leopard sawing somewhere around Gallagher Pan. I've checked that area twice, not come up with anything. Okay, so Rexon is going around back towards the Gallagher Pan, so we'll go round towards the other pan now. Copy. I'm going to do another loop around past Weirtail Dam. If Rexon drives out there and finds him, I shall be both sad and happy at the same time. I mean, we'll get a leopard sighting, but also that I didn't find it. Alright, fantastic. Leo Smith has managed to find himself some signal, so you don't have to listen to me waffling on with absolutely no animals to show you. So let's go back to the Masai Mara with Brent Leo Smith now.
Well, I never lost it, it lost me. Hold on, guys, we're just going over some quite steep stuff at the moment. As I said, we're heading sort of east, well, east, southeast, and it's very slippery at the moment. We need a bit more speed, I feel. Everything's very, very slippery at the moment, so we're going to have to try this a different way. Bouncy, bouncy. There we go. Oh. Okay. I'm back. So sorry about that. We're not sure what happened. We're right below our Mara Sun repeater. So some big herds to the east, southeast of us. So we're going to just cruise around like this, hoping to find some predators on the edge. I'm really hoping that these wildies start moving towards some of the main crossings. Those crossings have been very, very quiet this year. The odd zebra crossing, but nothing massive. But there are huge amounts of wildebeest in this area. Why, thank you so much, Wolf. Wolf loves the shuka I'm wearing. It is my favorite shuka. It's my lucky shuka. So hopefully it'll bring us some luck this morning. And above all else is it's very cozy. And it's not that warm this morning, especially with it raining most of the night. It was actually still raining when we left camp at 5. So shuka is just a nice little extra layer to keep you snug as a bug in a rug while out on safari. Very pastel this morning, the colours. After all the rain, there's a very little dust around. So very pastel colours this morning. So no sign of any big cats just yet. As I say, there are huge amounts of wildebeest in this area. Still quite a bit of rain to the southeast, but looks like quite far away. Morning, Emily. Emily says it's so pretty it looks fake. I can guarantee you it's not fake. There's been a trend recently on Twitter and on Facebook, certain individuals who seem to think that we are using a green screen. I guarantee you we're not. And I can show you why. So I told you I was slipping and sliding. We get mud that comes and flicks up onto the car, and then you can see there, that's wet. That's wet mud. That's fresh mud. Ain't no green screens here. Okay. Now, Romit, hello. Romit is wondering if I've had any word on Malika's boys. Unfortunately, I have not. And we don't go that side of the river at the moment. But even then, I haven't seen any postings on social media or anything about Malika's boys. You can see this is a very seldom used road, this one. Can't you see it? It's nice. Whoop. A little bump in the road. It seems quite a lot of the wildebeest have gone a little bit further south as well. Well, it seems like every morning that I'm slipping and sliding. My good friend Tristan is out getting some exercise. Don't worry, Tristan. I won't get stuck. We'll have to wait for you to get back to the Mara to get stuck for me.
Oh, Brent Leo Smith, I don't need to get back to the Mara to get stuck. I only got stuck once during the monsoon period of the Mara, and, well, you arrived at the end of that and got stuck within 2 days, so not really too worried as to whether you get stuck or not. Got far more important things to worry about in life. Anyway, we are down in the drainage lines in front of camp, which is where we've had some bushbuck alarm calling, so we're going to try and see if we can find who was around. We think... Herbie says he thinks he's already picked up a leopard track further down below here, so we're going to go and try and have a little look at that and see exactly who it is. Now, as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan on camera. I've got Ferg, and we are out on walk this morning, which is always very, very, very pleasant. It's nice to be out and about at this time of the day. It's really quite frigid this morning. I didn't think it was going to be so cold, so I didn't bring a jersey with me from home, because normally on walk it gets quite warm quite quickly, and it becomes difficult to actually be able to kind of, you know, stay kind of cool. You know, if you've got thick jerseys and jackets on, it gets a little warm in the day. And so, you know, I didn't pack a jersey with me this morning, but it is very cold down in here, and so I'm hoping that by the end of kind of today it's going to be a little bit on the warmer side. Now, still no sign of exactly where this leopard went, but I mean, I can see that there are tracks here, so these are the tracks that we're looking at. This is the leopard over here, so it looks like Hosanna's track just by the size. You can see this is the toes that are in front of the track, and then this is the pad at the back with the 1, 2, 3 lobes. So he was walking up and down, and now I know yesterday we left him kind of coming this direction, and now he's going the opposite way. So I wonder if he's not heading back towards the pan. We'll have to just go and double check and see what he's gotten up to. I suspect that somehow he's wormed his way between James and the camp and gotten past this area before James managed to get here, and that's why James didn't find him, because James drove right here. James was exactly in this area this morning. I watched him drive around here, so I suspect little Hosanna went in through his normal little routine and kind of just went down through the thickets here, which is about the right kind of path, I would say, for him. Weekend escape, it's random with leopards. Leopards are opportunistic, so if the opportunity presents itself during the day, they'll hunt. If the opportunity presents itself at night, they'll hunt. But generally their peak kind of activity times is around sunrise and sunset, so just before sunrise, and then a little bit after the sun rises, and then a little bit before sunset, and just after the sunset. So that's normally their peak activity, but anytime something comes their direction, they'll take a chance and try and go after it and see if they can maybe find themselves a meal. So it's obviously quite sort of dependent on what's going on, but what I can tell you is that it looks like he's been all over the place here during the course of the night, but he seems as though he's still heading in a... You see, he came this way as well. He's now going back the opposite side. So Herbie's marked this track out for us. You can see it there. He's heading towards the pan, so I'm not sure where he is at the moment. I think he's gone in all kinds of directions here, but you can see that's the little track there, and the toes facing the opposite direction to where we've just come from. So I wonder if maybe he's not just in that drainage line somewhere there, just hiding from us. Interesting. So, Sam, yes, most definitely. If a leopard runs into a caracal, they will attack them. I've seen, actually yesterday I saw some photos of a leopard with a caracal kill up in a tree. So it will happen. Leopards are very resourceful cats. Anything that they can kind of get their claws and teeth into, they'll take. So, you know, wildcats, servals, caracals, any of those kind of things are all fair game for a leopard. They're not shy to go after any of those kind of things. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I have never seen one here in the Sabi Sands with a caracal kill, and that's probably because we have very few caracals here. But, you know, in other parts in the Kalahari areas where there's a lot more of the caracal species, that you might find that there'll be a few more incidents of leopard taking them. Like I say, a leopard has a seriously varied diet. It's in terms of the studies that have been done, it is the predator with the highest kind of number of prey species that they were able to measure. I think they ended up over the study period, it was something like 37 different species that they had recorded leopards eating, which is pretty insane. Right, I'm going to just double check where these tracks go, what he's gotten up to, see maybe where he went. In the meantime, let's send you back across to James, who's driving around. He just drove past us, and hopefully he'll get a bit of luck.
Hello everybody. Well, we found our first track, thankfully, for the morning. Let me just try and get out of the car and then I'll show it to you. I'm just going to call it in for Herbert. Tracks of a male leopard going north on the game path to the north of Galago Pan. They look relatively fresh. Can you see this one here? Is it too close to the car? Too close, too close. I'll try and find another one. Naturally, that's the only one that's obvious. Well, here's one here. You see that one? There is the male leopard track. I am, unlike Tristan, not prepared to say whether that's Tingana or Hosana. I couldn't tell you. But there is the track. That one doesn't look that fresh. The one behind it looks fresher. And he's going along here. Wouldn't it be nice if he popped his head out of the bush in front of me? I don't think he's going to. I think he's walked along here a little while ago. Lovely sounds of the morning, not accompanied by the growls of a leopard. Now, he's gone along here. And I'm pretty sure that bushwalk will be in this area very shortly. They may come around the corner as we speak. But this goes into an area with nothing in the way of a road. And so whoever this male leopard is into the realm of bushwalk territory. You just talk to them again. Herbert, come in, Herbert. Herbert will probably tell me that these tracks are 7 days old. Herbie, did you copy Herbie? I can't raise them on the radio. Alright, well, at least there are some tracks. We did see them. Let's continue along here. I'm sure Herbert will pick up on them very shortly. Put my blankie on my leggies. Just still quite cold this morning. On we go. President, yes, I think that Tristan did say that Hosanna has a diamond-shaped toe. I have to confess that I can't see it, but that's not a fault of Tristan's, that's a fault of mine. I am very poor at seeing detail like that. I'm not sure why. My brain is deficient. But, you know, I'm perfectly happy to accept that he can see a diamond in his shape. Likewise, people say they can tell Hukumuri's track from a hook. And I was almost, you know, hook on the left foot. I almost believed them until the until this hooked track terminated in Hosanna walking along the road. And then I started to become a doubting Thomas about it. Shall we do a little sunrise shot here, David? Let me pull into a position where you can see it. Sorry about that. How's that? Is that alright? You need to move. There is the sun coming up. See if we can't hear a little bit of alarm calling, perhaps. But no, nothing. Herbert is just not listening to me. Herbert, do you copy? Yeah, he's on the fresh tracks. Yeah, he's heading straight towards where we had him the other day on foot. Okay, copy that. Yes, Julie, it is stunning, and it's one of the great privileges of living out here, of course, that we get to experience that every day. All right, let's carry on. If that is Hosanna's track, as they suspect it is, well then where's Tingana? Because unless Hosanna suddenly decided that he's a territorial male leopard, which I seriously doubt, where has he gone? Brent still is driving, I believe. So let's go back to the Masai Mara. We will do our best to find you an actual heartbeat sometime soon.
Welcome back. We're about to hit a mass of gnus. Gnewing, munching on the nice short green grass here. So here we go. So they've just been moving up and down with the rain in this area. They don't seem to be wanting to go near the crossings and the crocodiles this year. I don't blame them at all. I wouldn't want those behemoths to be biting my bottom. Okay. So they've moved a little bit further south from where they were yesterday. Moved to the area around Mlimambili. Aegis is wondering how we do not get lost. Hold on. Whee! Well, I don't know, Aegis. I've got a good sense of direction. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Some rays coming through. And wildies. Meh. But alas, no lions just yet. Alright, let's keep moving a little bit. Maybe the lions are hanging out at Mlimambili, the Two Hills. Favorite spot for Kipuli and the Sausage Tree boys. Now, we're just going to plough our way through the gnus. Hannah, I agree with you. This area is absolutely gorgeous. Hannah says it's so beautiful. I mean, look at that. The lone balanite with the gnus and the morning rays. It's so beautiful. I'm going to be naughty. Don't tell James Henry. Achoo! That was not me taking a picture. That was me sneezing, of course. Sometimes you just have to be a little bit naughty. Man. Okay, let's keep heading for Mlimambili and hopefully some putty tats. Man. So quite often where there's a bit of sticky mud, the wildies make the road really, really sticky. Carol, I have absolutely no idea what the ratio of male to female wildebeests are. I can see if I can find some research, but I have no idea. I would guess that there are more females, although we do see a lot of males. I don't know. I'm just guessing at the moment, speculating. So I cannot honestly tell you, Carol. I'll have to try and find out for you. Man. So there seems to be a little gap of wildebeest around Mlimambili, which means there could be lions over there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Dismal. It says, watch out, Brent, roadblocks ahead. Well, these roadblocks are a bit more movable than the ones we had at just after 5 a.m. this morning. And there's a very steep road down from our camp to the Mara floor. And we had 3 big elephant bulls. So what normally takes us about 15 minutes took us about 40 minutes today because these Ellie bulls were just slowly sneaking down the road in front of us. My comms broke up there, but I think I'm sending you back to South Africa, but I don't know to who.
Well, you're sending to us, Brent, and we are hot on the trail of Hosana. We can see this is where he's walking, and we can hear the birds very, very much in front of us, so he's not far ahead. We also know the time frame because of the bushbuck alarm calling that he's somewhere close to this area. There's also tracks for a female leopard walking around here, so we can just try to see how we're going to go, but there's definitely birds that are making quite a bit of noise just ahead of us, so we're trying to just keep our voices down as much as possible and to try and take it quite slow as we go forward here. It's an interesting area. This is exactly where we had Tingana, Tandi and Kalamba the other morning, just on the bank here, so I wonder if he's maybe not picked up the scent of them at some point during this, and that's why he's walking in this direction. But you'll notice that I'm speaking in a hushed tone, and that's just so that we don't scare him if he is just up ahead of us. If we make a lot of noise, then we're going to get kind of him into a panic state and he'll move off long before we ever see him. So if we just stay nice and quiet, then we should be able to pick him up. But it seems as though he's still moving up this direction. Now, it's obviously one of those things when you're tracking a leopard is that you want to try and kind of think where the leopard might walk and what direction he might head, and then try and just find those kind of pathways to then see what's going on. But just looking now, just to have a double check. Herbie's in front of me. He's kind of checking out up ahead of us. But nothing on the ground here, so he must have stayed in the drainage line. Amy, no, not at this stage. Hosana luckily is not the most unrelaxed leopard on foot, and so he'll probably run away more than he'll be kind of aggressive towards us. But I suppose there's always an element of risk. At the end of the day, he's a big cat that can very easily hurt us if he wanted to. But you know, I think we're okay for now. He's not the most aggressive of leopards, and so you know, don't really stress too much about him. But you still need to kind of be careful and keep your eye out and just make 100% sure that you're watching and paying attention, because if he does see us and he does feel threatened or cornered, then he might get aggressive and we wouldn't have any power to stop him, that's for sure. But I don't see us sniffing. Lisa, difficult to say because we don't really know what's happened. There goes a scrub here. No Hosanna behind it. Nope. We don't really know what's happened to some of them. So as far as we can 100% confirm, we know that Quarantine is alive and Hosanna is alive. Mishu and Duna, possibly. Shivambalana was seen, I suppose, fairly recently. And then Shavinzi and Shongile, we don't know. Shadow also has obviously disappeared, and I mean, I doubt that she's still alive. Being an older female, she wouldn't have left her territory. So yeah, those are the only ones that we know of. 100% is Quarantine and Kunyuma and sorry, I forgot Kunyuma there. Naughty me. Quarantine, Kunyuma and Hosanna, so all the boys that are still alive. Now I'm just looking very carefully. It's also quite interesting at this time of the morning, you know, you're now starting to get a little bit of light, which is going to help us a lot. Just now it was very dark and difficult to see. So now that we've got a bit of sun, it really is going to be a lot easier to see what's going on. Hopefully we'll get back onto his track fairly shortly and we'll be able to find him. But in the meantime, let's send you across to James and a bird.
Yes, we have a bird here that was causing the guinea fowl to shout. It's causing some squirrels to shout now, and I don't know what it is. It's a bird of prey, obviously. I just thought I'd give you a quick look, and then we'll see if we can't get a bit closer to it before it flies off. I haven't given up on the leopard, but we can't drive where the tracks are going. There's Tristan and Herbert are there on foot. There's a great deal of consternation being shown by the guinea fowl here. I'd be surprised if they were only shouting at that bird. Do you want just a quick picture of that? It might be quite pretty. Yeah. All right. There's something else going on here though. They're the guinea fowl on the ground. Can you see them there? There they are shouting. Greg, I believe that you're wondering whether it gets lonely out here in the wilderness. Well, it depends entirely on how social you are as a human being. There are a number of people for whom living out here becomes quite difficult after a while because they can't go to the bars and meet their friends and have dinner with their mates and see their families and that sort of thing. I personally am not particularly social, so I don't get lonely out here. Some people do though. And I think also the younger you are, the more likely you are to get a bit more lonely out here. I'm of course old and unpleasant, so it doesn't really faze me too much. We'll get a much better view here of this Boyd. There we go. You see him there, Dov? It is our baby Battalier, a long way from home. Is it? No, it's not. Or is it? I don't think it is actually. I think it's a juvenile gymnogene. Alana, birds vulturing at alarm calls. Alarm calling at vultures. No, I wouldn't say that they would. I'm not entirely convinced that these guinea fowl are only alarming at this juvenile Battalier either. There's squirrels shouting all over the place. It's the most frustrating morning. Just feel like you're behind the 8-ball the whole time. I'm just going to quickly find this bird. So juvenile African Harrier hawk, I think. I say that because it's got quite a small head. Yeah. Kind of a thin head, almost looks like it's got a tiny brain. And long legs. That's what it is, a juvenile African harrier hawk. No leopard. Hoo-poo calling in the background. Boop boop. Boop boop boop. Boop boop. Otherwise, not a great deal going on here. They could be shouting at him, I suppose, these guinea fowls. We'll continue and see if we don't get more lucky. Yeah, I don't think there's a leopard here. I think we'd have seen something, and I think these guinea fowls wouldn't be shouting from the ground like they are. They'd be shouting from up in a tree. Let's stop and have a good look at these guinea fowls. There we go. Doesn't look very pleased with life. Naturally hiding behind a log. That is the helmeted guinea fowl, one of two species we get here. Well, we get in South Africa, we don't get the other one here. The other one is, of course, the crested guinea fowl, which looks like it has got a Tina Turner wig on its head. Cobalt, there are lots of them that are tattletales of the bush. These are one of them, the guinea fowl. Squirrels, definitely, although squirrels have excellent eyesight, and so they will alarm call at predators, you know, a lot further away than we'd be able to see. So they're not very good tattletales. Lots of birds will alarm call. Rattling testiculars, long-tailed shrikes, crombecs, waxbills, bleating warblers, all sorts. There are lions calling now. Naturally, absolutely nowhere near where we are. Just having another listen. Yes, Wisteria, they are very cute. I find they're quite fun to watch run and just act generally. They always are seemingly in a state of great surprise, consternation. Something about that blue head that is just completely ridiculous. But I'm afraid otherwise there is not a great deal of sound by way of predator coming out of this area. I cannot tell you how often it happens that we leave camp with calls and shouts of alarm calls and sawing leopards or roaring lions and 3 or 4 options to go and follow up on, and by the end of the day you've got a total species list of 1 guinea fowl and 2 rattling testiculars and a duiker running off into the bush. And on other mornings when you have no prospects when you head out, well, that's when it all seems to happen. Alrighty, I believe that Brent's managed to find a whole lot of heartbeats in a big herd of things with white beards and horns, and they make a noise that Brent will make for you now.
many thousands upon thousands of heartbeats today, but none with a predator's heart just yet. So this area is favored by Kipuli and the two boys, as well as some of the females from the Salt Lake Pride. And you can just see masses upon masses of gnu's. Absolutely stunning. So what I'm doing here is I've just stopped on the edge of the wildebeesties, and I'm just looking for lions. Also got the good old binos out, having a good pan about. But so far, nothing but news. Not even a zebra amongst this lot. Diane is wondering, will Kinky Tail's injury heal quickly? Indeed it will, Diane. It's not too serious. What I'm going to do is I took a photograph of it. I'll just get it up for you so you can have a look, because I knew that we were going to have a question about poor Kinky and her new injury. Where is that photograph now? Oh dear, I don't think I moved it across from my computer. Oh no, I did. I'm not that idiotic. Now, what did I want to do with it again? I want to I'm being an idiot at the moment. Oh dear, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm being so silly. But as I say, we've got wonderful ambience while I try. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it this way. Okay, I was going to try move it onto my iPad where it's a bit bigger, but I think that's just going to take too long. So let us just do it this way. Okay, here we go. I've got the picture already here, James. I was going to try and move it onto the bigger device, but unfortunately not. There we go. You can see it's actually a very, very superficial wound. It's not serious at all. There's no real meat damage. It's just skin deep. So it wasn't even really bothering her while she was walking. So not a serious injury. So not too much to worry about for Kinky Tail. What I think is a much bigger concern for the Sausage Tree Pride at the moment is the fact that they are sort of in limbo when it comes to the males. Kipuli and those two boys have sort of really set up shop in this area, and I heard from a friend of mine that he saw some of the Sausage Tree Pride mating with two unknown males I don't know, that have come from the south. Now that's probably just for pure protection at the moment, and whether Kipuli and the two young boys join up with the rest of the Sausage Tree Pride again is going to be very interesting to see over the next few months. But so far, just canoes and no lions. Me. Sarah says she loves the sound that the canoes are making. Me too, Sarah. A lot of people apparently don't like it, but I quite do. Me. And if you listen carefully, I'm going to keep quiet. You can hear so many different sort of accents, canoe accents. You hear the males quite a lot deeper. And then the females, and the little ones, Serious game of follow my leader. There's a little one. Mom. Now, quite often it pays to sit quietly in a spot like this and just watch what's going on. See if any of the big herds or big groups suddenly panic or whatnot, and that could lead you to a predator. The group I've been watching the most carefully is the group on the edge of the burn in the long grass in the distance, up on the main Salt Lick Road. There, that group, been watching them very, very carefully, going to see if they're going to panic, but at the moment they're looking quite relaxed. And I think maybe the lions are in the next valley. Okay, dokie. We're going to keep moving and keep looking for the lions. While we do that, let's go see what Tristy Cat's up to.
Well, our plot has thickened somewhat because there's definitely not just Hosanna walking around here. There's another leopard walking around, and we've found her tracks right here. So there is a female that is moving. You can see the size of her track in comparison to what we've been looking at is much, much, much smaller. If I put my hand next to it, it is almost half the size of what we've been seeing from Hosanna's track. So I think it might be Tundi's track that is here, and maybe she was even the one that was sawing. Now, you'll see that there are toes that are kind of quite close together, and then here is this little lobe at the back. And this track is very, very fresh. It's got a bit of dark soil to it, which is typical of tracks that are made quite recently. And it looks like she's gone towards Gallagher Pan, drank water, and is now heading back again. So I wonder if maybe there's an Achille somewhere here that she has, and that's why Hosanna is kind of following it. But just to give you an idea of how difficult tracking can be at times, if you have a look over here at the end of my stick, as you're walking along, these markings here, this is a footprint for this leopard, but it is very tricky to see. You can only see the sort of three outer toes very clearly. The back pad is almost completely obscured, as well as this far left-hand toe. These kind of three over here are the only indication that she really kind of walked here. Only when you stop and you look very, very closely do you see the rest of the pad coming down around the back here and then following around in that area, and then that fourth toe over there. But this is the kind of things that you're looking out for when you're tracking, and the only reason we spotted these is because of these little rounded toes, and that's then led us to kind of look a little bit closer and to the fact that Tundi had been here, or we think is Tundi, or maybe even Shaduli, but there's a leopardess that is walking around here. Now, I was saying that the soil is quite a lot darker. If you have a look at this part of the soil where my hand is quite sort of grey in coloration, whereas here it's got a more sort of brownish earthy tone to it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, if I take my finger now on this grey section and I just jam my foot in, now look at the color differentiation between what it was and what it is now. That grey has disappeared, and that lower sort of darker soil has now come on top, and that means that it is exactly what we're seeing with that track there. So she was walking quite quickly down the slope, and because it's a down slope, that's exactly how my fingers have gone kind of into the sand, is what her foot is doing, and that's why we're getting that darker soil coming out and showing itself. So these are very, very fresh. They're from this morning, much like his. So it seems as though he might be following her as she moves around, but she definitely went for water because her tracks go that way, and then Herbie says they come back again. So we're going to try and see if we can follow these and backtrack these tracks all the way, and hopefully that leads us to a kill that the three of them are on. If it is Tundi and Kalamba and then a little Hosanna that may have joined them, it would be very nice if it is the case, because, well, it's always pleasant when we've got the three of them together. The problem is that when you do have multiple leopards, tracking them can be quite difficult because they all move in different directions. So each one will kind of go this way and that way, and then they go round in circles. So it can be a little bit more tricky to find them. But hopefully we will win, and we will find some semblance of a spotted cat somewhere this morning. So Greg, the reason we don't see snakes very regularly when we're walking around is that snakes are very, very, very sensitive to vibration. So the stamping of our feet and the moving, a lot of the snakes will just kind of scuttle off and try and hide because they don't want to be caught, they don't want to be found out in the open, and so they try and hide away. So a lot of the time snakes are very, very close to us, we just don't see them. And also then when we do see snakes on walk, generally it's fleeting glimpses, so we just kind of get this quick little look of a snake just passing by, and then it disappears and camouflages incredibly well. But they are out here, it's just that they're very shy and elusive for the most part. Now I just don't see where she came from. I think maybe she walked through this kind of undulating terrain. I'm trying to look for Herbie's track because that's the easiest way to backtrack this female, is to just backtrack Herbie. It looks like he walked here. Now Herbie should be somewhere close by for me. So James, it's difficult to say because we don't see many jackal dens out here in the sands. But if there, I'd hazard a guess, and I mean I haven't actually found any jackal dens that have been active. But if I had to hazard a guess, termite mounds would be one. Culverts, so anything where there's a hole underneath the road. Often there's places where they put pipes under roads to allow drainage to pass through, especially in drainage line sections. Those will be very popular spots, although hyenas use those a lot, and as well as leopards. So it's a little bit difficult for them. They need to be a bit careful with that. And then any sort of holes in the ground, I would imagine, any holes in banks of riverbeds where there's thickets, much like what a leopard or a hyena would use. They would probably adopt very similar habits out here in the Kruger. Unfortunately, I've never actually seen a jackal den here in the Sabi Sands. I've never found little ones together with any little puppy ones. I mean, with any adults. So difficult to know exactly. There's lions also roaring. Just here on our north. Sounds like they're moving quite quickly. They just here on our northeastern side. They're actually not too far. At first I thought they were quite far, but they look like they've moved quite quickly. Right, well, we'll try and follow these leopard tracks. They're kind of heading in the same direction. We're going to have to go around because Herbie says that to me, that they're on the other side of the drainage. So we're going to try and just cross this little drainage, which is not so little when you get to this part, and try and see if we can catch up with where Herbie is. It'll make life a little easier, and then we'll try and figure it out. But I'm sure those lions are not far from us either, which is quite interesting. Sounds like the Niconico Pride that's busy calling at the moment. Lots and lots of lions that are roaring, not just one or two. Hopefully this little bank will lead us to a crossing point. Right, so now let's see. We're not going to be able to get down there. We're going to have to pretty much go all the way back that we just came to be able to cross this drainage section and be able to get onto the other side. So you can see where Tundi came across. She actually walked right here. So we're in the right spot now. We've just got to try and figure it out and find out where exactly she's gone. And that's probably why Hosanna's tracks are going back and forth, is he's doing much like what we're doing. He's trying to kind of track her down the same way that we are, and basically backtracking her. There goes a scrub here, which always can give one a fright when you first find them. But definitely she came from here. So it's interesting how her tracks have moved around, and this is the exact spot that we had her and Tingana in the other day. So I wonder why she's here. Hopefully we'll find her. So I believe a lot of you are wondering how far the lions are from us and whether or not we're in danger. No, we're fine where we are. When they're far enough away that we don't need to worry. I mean, if they were really roaring close by, you would have heard it through my mic, and they're not, so we are in no danger at the moment. The more kind of pressing issue is leopards being close rather than lions. The lions are quite far away at this stage. Herbie is saying to me that these tracks are just going all over here, so we're going to try see. We'll try and see what we can find and see if there's some sort of sign of her in this area. While we do that, though, let's send you back across to James and find out what he's heard on the radio.
I am finding myself feeling deeply confused, frustrated. We're in between two sets of tracks here that are indicating a lot of confusion generally all over the place. There's a lion track, we won't worry about that one, that's from a few days ago. Rexon's over here with tracks of a female and cub, we would assume Tandi. Herbert is up north with the tracks of what he thinks is Hosanna and a female, so I don't know what on earth's going on here. No idea. We're just going to drive around and see now. I've decided that my brain is boiling at such a heat that it's impossible for me to fathom what's happening. Anyway, let's see what we can do. The tracks of the female that Rexon had were going towards where Hosanna stole the kill from her, out of that very tree over there, a marula tree. Yes, one of those two you can see just over my head. It was so nice that there was just a leopard lying in it. So she's crossed off down towards the south now. We'll do a little loopy around this area, see if we don't become lucky. Hathis, what kind of cat calls? Kestrels. Oh, kestrels. Oh, okay. Right, got it. Kestrels. Well, kestrels, part of the sort of larger grouping of falcons. The Amur falcon, which used to be called the eastern red-footed kestrel, is found here, as is its brother, now known as the western red-footed kestrel. They are found around here. They'd be the most common ones. We've got a couple of other falcon species around here, sometimes a lanner, sometimes a peregrine, very rarely, sometimes a European hobby. Brent did have a European hobby last year. The tracks of a female are definitely going this way. We're going to go around towards the riverbed. I'm trying to think of any other kestrels that we get here. I don't think there are any more. I think those are the ones. Thank you very much for that question. That's a nice one. I was slightly shocked to be asked about kestrels. Haven't thought about them for a while. There's a large bird of prey. I think that it is a Welsh. There are a number of Welshes around here. It's interesting. Perhaps death has occurred nearby. The claws and teeth of Tandi, the female leopard. Steve, you've been a minority there, I think. You say you like to see a game drive that's not always full of action. Well, we quite prefer it when at least there's some action. I suppose we are having a very quiet, pleasant bumble about. There is a vulture, a white-backed vulture, perhaps looking at a piece of meat that we can't see. Oh, for the eyes of a vulture. And the ability to fly like one too. Be quite fun. Right now, I'm afraid, just the sign of the vulture. Quite an interesting sky going on behind. Still a lot of grey cloud around. And I'd have thought that by now this front would have disappeared, but it hasn't. More alarm calling squirrels to the south of us, which I'm going to ignore because, of course, well, seeing like a squirrel is almost like trying to see like a vulture. Nice to sit here with a bit of sun on the face like that vulture is doing there. No, Romert, we don't get European starlings here, and you can rest assured that if we did, someone would come and shoot them. They are obviously invaders to this area. It's not their fault. They were introduced so they're not invaders so much as unwelcome introducees. I've never seen them here. There are lots of parts of South Africa where they do occur, including Cape Town, but none over here. The only really invasive bird that I've seen here is the Indian myna, and you'll find them at Arathusa Dam. Interestingly, that's where I've seen them. I think they try and pick them off with pellet guns every so often. Must be done. We don't want them invading our wildlife areas. It's known as the common myna in India. You get a number of different myna species. Very clever bird, but they do tend to take over areas completely. There's another big vulture up front. We'll stop for him, see if we can see what he's looking at. What are you looking at, vulture? You can go around the corner here. It's probably going to fly. No, Bob, you don't get hummingbirds in the old world. Hummingbirds are a new world family of birds. And what that means is that they only occur in the Americas, basically. We have the evolutionary equivalent here, called a sunbird, which has a very same or similar beak, not very closely related, and if I'm not mistaken, is an example of convergent evolution, which means that two unrelated species or unrelated groups of organisms have evolved the same strategy to explore a similar food niche in a different area. Joy, I'm going to let you guess this one for yourself. Why do you think that an animal like this would be called a white-backed vulture? Well, Joy, you're going to be unsurprised that it is because it has, everyone together, a white back. Now, I know you can't see the white back, but you actually can't see a bird's back at all, and that's because of its wings. So although that other thing looked very grubby and very unwhite at all, as soon as it opens its wings, you'll see it has a very bright white patch on its back. And that bright white patch is important because it allows them to follow each other. It reflects the sun. And when they're flying huge distances from each other, they can still see each other. And when one descends down to a carcass, well, so the others will then follow, using the white back as a sort of reflective beacon. So, Joy, for a long time I wondered the same thing because, you know, you almost never see the white back because when you do see them flying, of course you're looking at them from underneath, you're not looking at the back. But sometimes you can see that very clear white back when they open their wings and you're able to see underneath them. I do not hear the crunching of bones, and so I'm going to assume that there is no kitty right where we are, and we'll continue driving. This vulture is going to fly now, poor chap. He doesn't have to, but I think he probably will. Yes. Off you go. Very difficult for them to fly in these cold conditions. You'll find another dead tree. In fact, there is another dead tree over there with a whole lot more vultures on it. I wonder if we are not going to get lucky around this part of the world. I have been wondering that since 5 this morning, of course. Oh, I believe that Tristan is holding something special. I wonder if it's a kitten.
No, it's not a kitten, James. It's something that unfortunately has been killed. Now, our story is just becoming more and more complicated as we're going. It seems as though there are actually 2 different females that are in this area that are currently fighting and having a sort of scrap. And what we've come across is what looks like the tail of a nyala or a bushbuck that has been eaten. Now, it's not that fresh. If you have a look at the skin section, it's quite dry. So this must have been a few days old at least. I mean, it could even be older than that. It doesn't smell like anything, so it might have been when we thought that Tandi was on a kill when Tingana arrived. Could be from then, but there's definitely 2 different females, and it looks like possibly a 3rd leopard also around in this area. Maybe even Tingana or Hosana have arrived, and that's why there's just tracks going in every single direction at the moment. So I think maybe Tandi and Shidulu might have had a little spat with one another last night, and there doesn't seem to be any sign of them scuffling yet or rolling around in the ground, but there's definitely tracks of them running side by side and moving through these thickets. So I'm intrigued to find out what's going on, but this is definitely a sign that there was a leopard kill somewhere. Now I'd imagine it might have been hoisted up into this jackalberry that's here, because this is where we found it, was at the base of this big jackalberry. But funny enough, I've checked this jackalberry a few times in the last few weeks, really kind of having a look and making sure, but I think there must have been something here. You can see, look at how this whole area has been flattened. Now there'll be two reasons for that. One is if this jackalberry is fruited, you might have had things like ellies coming here, but 2 is if there was a kill, well, things like hyenas, leopard, they would have dragged it around all over the place and actually fed on it. So I think that was probably what's happened, but it's very difficult now because there are tracks for these leopards going in 20 different directions at the moment, so we're going to try and figure out where everybody is gone. But there's definitely been quite a bit of interaction in this particular spot that we're in, which is quite astounding. I'm surprised that we didn't hear anything. I thought we would have heard anything. I actually just want to check on this tree if there's any claw marks. Now often when there's been a hoisted kill, if you look carefully on the tree, you can sometimes find fresh claw marks, but what there is that is quite interesting is it looks as though there might be some stomach content. No claw mark that I can see. I'm just trying to have a little look. Is that bark or is it stomach content? No, it's just the bark that's on there. So I was just having a little look. This little patch here looks a little bit like dried stomach content going up the tree itself, but I don't see any signs of any fresh claw marks. Fresh claw marks you'll see on a tree like this. They leave like a little red cambium spot on the tree itself, but I don't see anything very clearly. I mean, there are a few old ones on here, but nothing from the last few days. Okay, well, let's keep going. Let's see what else we can find. It's definitely... Now, a few of you are wondering why I didn't pick up a glove use a glove to pick up the nyala tail. It's a nyala tail, it's just hair. It's really, I mean, there could potentially be a bit of disease on it, I suppose. I'll just wash my hands when I get home, but I didn't touch any of the meat section, so nowhere where the skin is. It was just hair that's basically sitting in the bush, so it's no different from picking up a fly when you're going fishing than it is to pick up that, and so don't really need gloves for that. I wouldn't pick up things like hyena dung or lion fur or anything like that, but that kind of thing is not too much of a stress. But you can see it seems as though there's been leopards all over the show here. I wonder if maybe Tingana wasn't on a kill at some point, because his track is also here. You can just see it. There it is, just kind of in the sand. So, I mean, there's literally tracks for 4 different leopards that we found just in this section this morning. Now, this is not a fresh track. It's not like the tracks we've been following so far. Those other tracks are much, much fresher. And we know there was a leopard in this area this morning, very, very close to where we are, because we heard the bushbuck alarm calling, we heard all the francolins going crazy, so it must be that they are around. Now, Ferg just unfortunately got himself a little caught there, so that's why he's trying to just get himself sorted out. Right, I don't know, these leopards could be anywhere now. When you've got this many cats all together, it could bombshell in any direction. So we're just going to wait for Ferg to get himself sorted out. Yes, unfortunately, it's a thick bush area, and so it's difficult to get through these kind of places. And so things like cables catch on every little branch, and it can be quite difficult to negotiate. So Ferg is getting himself sorted out. And right, now while I negotiate this thicket and try and get ourselves through this area and try and figure out where all these leopards go, let's send you back across to James, who's driving about, and I wonder if he has any updates.
No updates. We've got a crested barbet though that I bet's seen some things around here this morning that we have failed to find. Rexon is convinced that there are leopards around here somewhere. Tandi, he thinks. Of course, Herbert is convinced of the same thing where he is. So, well, the only way to prove either one right or wrong is to find a leopard. And it's always good to stop and do a little bit of birding when tracking, because what you want to do is hear the consternation displayed by potential prey. This chap's not displaying any consternation. He's just sunning himself in the punks of the avian world. And then up ahead of us there are some green pigeons. There we are. And that's the best view of a green pigeon you'll get. Isn't that nice? That's really quite cool. Now you can see here that they do certainly look green, but as I've said to you before, there is no green pigment on that pigeon at all. And the barbs and barbicels of its feathers are just different blues and yellows, and that's why it looks green. Look at this little chap wandering about. Both of the two birds that we're looking at, the crested barbet and the green pigeon, will be seeking some kind of fruit to eat. There's not a lot of fruit around at the moment. All right, let's go back to the Mara with Leo Smith and find out where he's heading.
Well, not much has changed on our end. We've covered about 5 or 6 kilometers since you were last with us, and we're still driving through wildebeest all around us. And we're heading to the east at the moment, pretty much towards the main crossings below Serena. And I'm just looking at this massive wildebeest off to the right here. And they're sort of starting to head in the right direction. We can just have a look there. When I say there's a mass, I mean, this opposite valley is just incredibly full, as well as parallel to us. You can sort of see the end of them there. It's amazing. Absolutely astounding. So we've guessing, and I'm going to try to be conservative. I'd say conservatively we've seen 500,000 wildebeest today. Conservatively. And we're not finished yet. We've still got a lot of wildebeest to drive through. I would almost go as far as to say there are more wildebeest in the Mara Triangle this year than there were last year. It seems the main section of the migration has been on this side, whereas last year the majority were on the other side. Hi, Bill. Bill says, are stampeding wildebeest dangerous to us in the vehicle? During the day, not so much, but at night, yes, you've got to be very, very, very careful. We've had some close calls. Okay. Now, just as many as there are on the right, there's also on the left. So, as I say, conservatively, I think we've seen 500,000 wildebeest today, maybe a few more. So, a huge section of the wildebeest are still south in Tanzania, around the Mara River and the Lamai Wedge. So, I think most of the wildebeest in Kenya this year are definitely in the Mara Triangle. Dismal says, it blows my mind to see that many wildebeest. Dismal, me too. And I've seen it a few times in my life. And every single time I'm just completely blown away with the sheer numbers of the Great Migration. It's just incredible. Mark says, why are there no zebras around? There are, Mark. You just got to remember, there's not that many zebras in comparison to the number of wildebeest. There's 1.7 million wildebeest, and there's only 200 or so thousand zebras in this migration. And if you look carefully, they are around. Even in, as James was panning, I saw quite a few in amongst the wildies here. Now, but there's something you don't see every day amongst the wildies. Sometimes they can get a little bit annoyed at all the wildebeest, so let's just get a bit closer. Especially the breeding herds of elephants will often move out of the areas where the wildebeest are, but you occasionally get young bulls like this chap. He's ignoring them, but sometimes they can get a little bit feisty with the wildebeest and try to chase them. But he just looks like he's completely nonplussed by the massive wildebeest. No. You'd think with his big ears he probably puts mud in there to keep all the canoeing out. Oh. Lara Moore, you are indeed correct. Lara Moore says, with such a huge herd, it is a lot of fertilizer. Well, coupled with this incredibly nutrient-rich soil from the volcanoes, the volcanic ash, the mass of wildebeest are indeed an incredible fertilizer. And not only their defecation, but also their death. I don't know if you could hear that. Whip, 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 whip. There was a zebra calling somewhere to the right of us. So they're around. They're just not as easy to spot. Hang on, there's some there. Oh, there's some there. Maybe a bit down to the right or to the left. The zebra. Oh, you got them there. Yeah, we go. So they are interspersed amongst the wildies. Absolutely awesome. Okay, let's keep moving. Ruth is wondering how long will they stay in the Mara. Ruth, it is completely dependent on the year. Last year they were already here by the 1st of June. This year they only arrived towards the end of July. So it is completely dependent on the year, the local rainfall, lots of different factors. But normally a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, sometimes 4 months. But again, there's no one answer. So a little bit earlier we showed you this side of the hill and all the wildebeest, and you can see we're still driving through them. Now what you couldn't see because of the dip was the opposite hill. Where I would say there are actually more than the hill we were looking at before. So all the way over here, you can just see thousands upon thousands. In certain spots they almost black out the grass. So that's why I say I think I'm being conservative when I say we've seen 500,000 wildebeest this morning alone. And as we get lower down, they get thicker again. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Yeah, I'm going to keep moving now. Poofy Poof is wondering how much vegetation do they consume a day? Well, as a whole, I'm not sure, but your average wildebeest probably eats a good kilogram or 2 of grass a day. So let's try 500,000 times 2, 1,000,000 kilograms, probably more. So probably also depending on small, big. Add the zebra in. They're probably eating something close to 3-4 million kilograms of vegetable matter in a day. That is crazy, isn't it? But we're not finding the cats this morning. We just, every time I think I've seen the end of a herd, we go over the next rise and there's another massive herd in front of us. Now, one would think it'd be quite easy to find cats when it's like this. It actually can be quite difficult because there is just so much food around. Now, I'm looking for lions, so is Tristan. Let's see if he's managed to follow their roars.
Well, they're roaring from inside Buffelshoek, so we're not going to be able to find any lions here. Unfortunately, we found their tracks and watched where they went, but unfortunately there's not going to be any chance to find them just inside Buffelshoek, which is fine. But we're still on our kind of leopard trails, and it's becoming difficult now because there's just leopard tracks heading in every direction and crisscrossing each other, as leopards are when they often interact with one another. You often see it when you get leopard interactions, that there's just this chaos that erupts and kind of just goes in all directions. Now, I actually had to have a little chuckle. I'm sure you saw a little bit earlier that I linked away to James, but you might have noticed Herbie on the ground. So Herbie took a little tumble this morning, and he was trying to show me where David fell the other day and ended up falling himself in the same areas. That's where Herbie was on the ground, and we were giggling like little girls, and it's a brownies kind of party. But anyway, we are still kind of going back now to where we had the last tracks for Hosanna. Hosanna is going to be probably the easiest of these 4 different tracks that we found. Careful there, Ferg. There we go. Just there's bushes everywhere here. It's really very, very difficult to actually see what's going on. But so we're going to try back down towards where Hosanna was, try and see if we can find him through all of this, and see if we can pick up his tracks. His tracks were very, very fresh, and I'm pretty sure that the bushbuck alarm call was for him. And I actually think the audio that we had for a leopard this morning was not actually one of the boys. I think it might have been Shadulu or Tundi just reaffirming their areas, and so we'll just have to try and see how we go. We had Hosanna's tracks all running through here and kind of coming up this way, and so I'm pretty sure that he's somewhere around here. He kind of turned westwards, and then we found all those female tracks, backtracked them, and I'm pretty sure that these females, I know that James had Shadulu's tracks 2 days ago, so I wonder if maybe she hasn't been sitting on a kill up here for 2 days, and that's what's then brought all these other leopards into the area. Lots and lots of hyena activity as well. Lions walk past there. It's just all kinds of tracks in that same similar kind of area. So Hosanna's last tracks that we have from here bend, and they go towards this little jackalberry that's standing up over there. So he was walking along that kind of pathway, and then from there we just lost his tracks and found all the females going up and down. So I wonder if he hasn't picked up the scent and has just kind of zigzagged his way through this. I'm pretty sure his direction will be westwards and kind of heading towards Gallagher's shortcut. I know he was kind of busy in this area and moving around, and the problem with Hosanna is he's not like a female or Tingana that just picks a line and follows it. He goes up like this, and then he comes down, then he goes up, and he does this kind of zigzagging pattern, which makes tracking him nothing short of a nightmare, to be honest. It can be quite tough at times. Joy, no sign of Tlalamba. I don't think she was here. You must remember that Tandi often goes off hunting by herself, and if she came across Shadulu while she was hunting, she wouldn't have gone and fetched Tlalamba and tried to bring her into this area. She would have maybe just tried to have her territorial dispute, and then she would have gone back towards wherever Tlalamba was. And her tracks head straight east, which is where we know where we last saw Tlalamba. So I think Tlalamba's fine, but there's definitely tracks for Tingana, Hosana, and then 2 females that are here. And it's always difficult because when you see a lot of tracks, especially if you think there's a kill around, you can sometimes think, well, it must just be the kind of females going, a female that could be going to a kill and males. But when you see them running side by side, and you could actually see that the 2 of them were running, is very, very cool to kind of witness. So I thought maybe Hosana walked somewhere in this general vicinity. So we're just trying to scan around. His tracks would be very easy to see here. It's a nice open sandy substrate, and so this is great kind of tracking conditions. If you ever want to track a leopard, this is what you want to track them on, because it becomes quite simple to see their tracks in this kind of stuff. But so Herbie says he's found Hosana's track, which is good. It's just on the northern side of the drainage as opposed to the southern side. So we'll try and kind of just get into that area. Now, we walked in this section earlier briefly. We just kind of did a quick loop and then we bumped into all these tracks. But now it looks like his track comes back down here. So you can see here is where the track is again. So he's all over the place, like we're saying. He's kind of going up and down and round in circles, and so we'll try to see if we can find him. I'm sure he's not far from here. While we do that, though, let's send you back across to James, who's back in his vehicle, and I wonder what tracking update he's got.
Well, I can give you the update that we have got more tracks in this area, according to Rexon, who's around here, and he spotted a hyena and has followed the hyena out. Possibly the hyena is doing precisely what we are doing, in other words, looking for a leopard and a free meal. We're not going to take a meal from the leopard, of course. I'm going to break off the stick because it's always in the way whenever we come through here. There we go. That's going to hurt you. You're right, David. The Land Rover Defender is designed to hook onto anything it goes past and then fling it in your face as hard as it can. But I'm afraid, other than that, I cannot tell you much as far as the existence or presence of leopards go. I can tell you that the Nkuhuma Pride has crossed north out of the reserve. But we shall keep on our search, fearlessly going along, doing our best. There's Rexon now, possibly still following the hyena. Let me get hold of him on the rod. There's the hyena. Let me move. Jeanette, no, there are no birds that arrive here for winter and are not here in summer. There are some on the coast that do that, but none that do that here. There's the hyena, hopefully leading us to a leopard. That's why Rexon's following him. Rex is now going to go around to the other side and see if he can't get lucky there. Herbert is still on the tracks, as I'm sure Tristan still told you. There's been a lot of hyena activity around here of late, which is very nice. Of course, we enjoy our hyenas. A couple of Franklins getting out of the way. Oh my goodness, Jip the dog. Welcome. You're a new viewer, apparently. It's lovely to have you with us. The only time I've ever heard or read the name Jip before was in the very first reader I had as a grade 1 6-year-old, and one I read about Jip the dog. Great friend of Meg the hens. I'm not sure if any of you from South Africa remember that. That's fantastic. All right, Jip, you're wondering if hyenas are, in fact, dangerous to humans. They can be. They can be, especially at night, and if human beings are camping or don't close their rooms at night. hyenas will think nothing of attacking a human being that is asleep and in the open. On foot in the day, no, they're not a danger to human beings. But if you're lying down with a tent flap open at night, or you leave your room open, there are horrible stories of hyenas coming into rooms and into tents and grabbing people, often by the face, and dragging them out of their tents. So, yes, they can potentially be dangerous to human beings. This hyena's basically done a large circle. It's behaving much the same way as we have the whole morning. It's probably about as clueless as to where this leopard is. Well, at least we got the hyena. That's quite nice. And wandering into this thicket here. As I say, the lions are not around at the moment. Did anybody else read about Meg the hen? Did you read about Meg the hen? Before your time, David? Yeah. Thank you. There we go. Faith read about Meg the hen and Jip the dog. There's the hyena. Who else was there? I can't remember. There were quite a lot of pots and pans and red lorries, I seem to remember as well. Well, that's interesting. That's fantastic. So Michael telling us that this hyena is not from our Juma clan of hyenas, but from the Elephant Plains clan of hyenas, and we met it back in January. Well, how on earth you know that, I don't know. I don't dispute it at all, but I'm most impressed that you've managed to identify it. So it's not a hyena that is within its territory. I wonder if it's an older male, perhaps, that's decided to vacate and head on into another clan so that it may increase its chances of mating. That would be logical. It's walking along here. We'll just get through this little dip. There it is. Oh, let me stop here. We'll get a last picture of this as we go back up to the Mara, to a predatory cat, a large predatory cat with Brent.
Well, finally, it's a kitty cat. It's quite a fat cat, but there are lots of wildebeest and zebra around, and I think, I'm not 100% sure, I haven't been able to see all the lions just yet, that this is part of the Mogoro Pride. Now, you will see other vehicles. Oh, there's wildebeest up ahead. Let's just see what she does. Okay, I think we're going to stick with her. She looks like she's walking with some intent. She might just be going to see the other members of the Pride. Alright, there's another one popping up through here. Now, we are in quite a busy area of the park. This is the first time the wildebeest have come this far to the northeast. Oh, she's definitely looking like she's interested. Now, if it is the Mogoro Pride, the most distinct female that we're used to seeing, who has got a missing tip to her tail, is not here. That doesn't mean she isn't close by. She could be lying around and very close by. Now remember, this is 100% live, and you will see other vehicles. You might hear some other people talking, but you can send through your questions to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. But they are heading straight towards some wildebeest at the moment. So Faith, I don't know if you would like to start prepping an action broadcast just in case. Even with those fat bellies, they look very intent on hunting Mambo this morning. And that is not uncommon during the migration for fat lions to just keep whacking wildebeest. I mean, we found that wildebeest this morning that barely being touched. And don't you love it when a lion's belly is so fat it just sways? Morning, Lauren. Lauren's wondering, when a pride splits, do mothers and daughters ever split too? Yes, they do sometimes. They can split from each other. Generally, when pride splits, it's normally when there's an absolute mass of animals. So your prides become very, very big. Let's have a look. So I'm just trying to decide what to do, whether these lions are going to use this mitre drain to try catch another wildy, or they're going to try wait for the ones crossing the road up ahead. I think they'll... Oh, you're going to get spotted. Okay, Faith, I think I'm going to keep quiet so we can have our social media friends join us. Welcome everyone to the Masai Mara. We are live with lions hunting wildebeest during the Great Migration. You will see there are other vehicles also enjoying this sighting. This is a national reserve, so there are lots of tourists who come to see the Great Migration. We're with two lionesses who are busy trying to catch themselves some breakfast. Even though they are quite fat already, they will definitely take the opportunity while the migration is here to eat as much as possible. Have they missed their opportunity? Did the wildebeest manage to cross the road in time? No, she might go off the road and use the long grass. There she goes. Hi, Joshua. Joshua says, hooray for lions. Look how she just disappears into that grass. You can see the smorgasbord of wildebeest and zebra that are around. This is very exciting. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Carol says, wow. As I say, very, very exciting. She's approaching a wildebeest, a lone wildebeest, that's at the back of a sort of queue of them that has been marching. She's still a little bit far to make a launch just yet. Catherine, you and me are both on the edge of our seats. Now, for those of you wondering, and this is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. We are with a pride of lions that are hunting. I think she might have been spotted by a zebra. The zebra seem to be a bit sharper than the lions when it comes to spotting the predators. Sio says, surely they are too fat to run. Well, Sio, lions will kill when they can, even if they are completely sated. That is in their nature. That is in their instinct to hunt and catch things. So even if they've got the biggest, fattest bellies and an opportunity arises, they will take that opportunity. Now, I think she's been spotted by that zebra. That's why she stopped moving. If we go off to the left a little bit, there we go. That zebra has had the eagle eyes this morning and has spotted the lion stalking. And let's just hang on here a little bit. You never know what's going to happen at this time of the year. There might be one known gnomless gnu that comes bounding along towards her. Okay, so that zebra is still looking, but not as intently as it was a little bit earlier. Jeanette is saying that lion needs some backup. Jeanette, she does have some backup. Unfortunately, you just can't see her at the moment. There is a second lioness here. Let's see what she does now. Now, there's so many opportunities. She might just look behind her. There's some more wildebeest that are walking in her direction. President said the zebra is saying denied. Indeed, but she might still get lucky. I just want to hang on for a little bit longer. It is beautiful out here, but I think there's now a second zebra staring at her. So I think the jig is up, so to speak. They have been spotted, but it looks like they've already killed this morning. But with this sheer number of animals around, it's almost like they can't resist. Yeah, she's giving up. She's looking for her partner in crime. Or maybe she's not. Hi, Lauren. Lauren is asking, how close do the lions need to be before launching attack? Generally under 10 meters, Lauren, but it all depends on whether the animal's injured or not. If the animal is an injury, then they can be a little bit further away and they'll actually sort of jog down. But there we go, she's seen those wildebeest now, so she might start moving towards those wildebeest. They could move towards her. Nope. She's going to give up. She's heading away, heading back towards where the other lioness was in the road. Or maybe not. Let's just wait. There's some zebra up ahead of the other lioness. Melissa would like to know which pride this is. Melissa, I haven't managed to get the best view yet, but I'm almost certain it's the Magoro pride. See, there we go. See how she's just changed, almost changed her mind again? She spotted something. Now, lions are often able to pick up on small injuries and things that we might not be able to see with our eyes. No, but it looks like it is over. He's going to join the other lioness in the road. Okay, well, I'm going to stick with them. You never know when we could go live. We could go live at any second out here in the Mara. Oh, now they're running. The zebras are running. The zebras have spotted them. And I'm going to try worm my way through the vehicles to keep up with them. So they've been spotted and now the animals are running. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, my name's Brent. It's been great to have you on this live action broadcast, and we'll see you soon. Huh? Ole. Let's go do some sniggering. Yeah. Sorry? I can't hear you, Sroon. Sorry, this car's making noise. David, yeah, I've got. Do you want me to phone David? Huh? David, Arisa. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We're just trying to organize ourselves through here. Let's go across to Tristan. Oh.
Well, Brenty, hopefully your lions will be successful at some point. So we're still on the tracks for Hosanna at this stage. He's just moving all the time and he just can't find a place where he's sat down yet. Seems as though he's been running around much like he likes to. He likes to kind of bounce around like a bit of a hooligan, as we know, and so it seems like that's been the case this morning. So we're just trying to kind of work out where he's kind of going to go from here. It seems as though his general direction is kind of northwest towards Gallagher Shortcut. That's where he's kind of looking like he's heading. He's been hugging the drainage line most of the way, and it seems like now he's just broken off a little bit more north into this grassy thicket. But it's been difficult because for every 10 steps you take with Hosana, you have to take 5 steps back because his track then changes direction, and you've got to go back and look at all the pathways and then find them. So it's difficult at times to be able to kind of track him down when he's in these kind of moods. And the Gallagher shortcut is coming up very close here, so we want to just double check on the road itself just to make 100% sure he hasn't crossed over to the west. But I have this funny feeling that in some respects maybe he's followed Shadulu a little bit and has kind of gone in that direction. Seems like it. Or he saw us and has decided to quickly vacate and go somewhere else and try and kind of loop around all the way to his pan once again. But I suppose his tummy will be small now, so he'll be getting hungry, which means that he'll probably in all likelihood be trying to find food once again. But it's been quite nice tracking him. It's been nice substrate, and if it wasn't for all the females, it would be quite easy, I think. Now, Jib, how would we know if an animal out in the wild has rabies? Well, it shows some symptoms, so confusion, where it doesn't know what directions it wants to take, foaming at the mouth, poor body condition. Those would all be kind of symptoms of late rabies. On early stages, very difficult to say. You know, there's often jackals that have rabies, or various kudu, squirrels, mongoose that have it, and you won't know anything until such time as they actually start to get the really late stages. Well, not so much with kudu and the likes, they're just carriers of it. But, you know, when something like a dog gets it, they'll start to foam, they'll become unusually aggressive, very dazed, very confused, and then they get quite thirsty, so they'll drink a lot more than normal. That's normal kind of indications of rabies. But so far, haven't seen many rabies sort of animal or rabid animals lately. Since they upgraded the fence on the western boundary, we've had much better sort of success rate at keeping rabid dogs out, which is always good. And it depends. Some bushwalks are very, very short. We don't go far at all. We end up walking, I don't know, 5 kilometers, so not very far. And then other bushwalks, you'll do 15, 16, 17 kilometers, which is 10 miles on some of the bushwalks. It just depends on the day, depends on what's going on. This morning, I'll have to check, but I would imagine we probably have done around 5 or 6, probably around there. We've done a lot of back and forth, which always makes it quite difficult to actually know exactly how far you've walked, but it feels like we've done about 5 or 6 Ks. You can actually see where Hosana has come out onto the road here. So there is his track there, and he's just still walking straight down the road. So this is probably during the course of the morning. It's on top of all the vehicle tracks, so if anyone drove here this morning, he's definitely kind of walked in this direction. So we'll just try to see if we can find him. Looks like a female here too as well. Anyway, let's just double check it and see. I'm pretty sure there is both male and female walking around. There's so many tracks everywhere that wouldn't surprise me at all that we have both of them kind of going down the road. The good news is that at least it's on the road. It makes life a lot easier to track when things are on the road itself. Now, looks like a bit of weather is also blowing in. I just kind of, we've been so focused with our heads down, kind of tracking and looking around close quarters, that we haven't really looked up much. And now that I look up, there is definitely a big bank of cloud that's around. It kind of looks quite ominous. Almost looks as though we might get a bit of rain this afternoon, which would be quite interesting if we did. Hope not, because I don't like rain, really. Rain is not my favorite. Now, sorry, Faith, can you just repeat the name there for me, please? So, Dull Surf, where have all the warthogs gone? No, they're around. We'll see them most days on the dam cam. On a walk like this, very seldom are you going to see a warthog. Typically quite skittish. They don't really kind of stick around for very long periods of time. You see them kind of just getting up and going, and so they're around. I mean, they see them fleeting glimpses here and there, but like I say, if you look on the dam cam, they're there most days. Especially if it's a hot day, then you'll find a little family of warthogs that goes there most and goes and drinks and wallows. Treehouse Dam has got a group that's there. Twin Dams, Buffelshoek Dam, I've seen some warties there. So anyway, where there's a bit of water, you typically find them kind of moving in those areas. No, I don't see. It looks like our leopard may have cut off the road. I see that Herbie. Now, that's interesting. Now, it sounds like Thandi and Tlalamba were seen on the dam cam at 8 minutes past 4 this morning, so I'm pretty sure that's when these leopards all had a bit of a scrap, was just after that, and that's maybe when we heard the bushbuck alarm calling, other leopards moving kind of southwards down. There's apparently tracks going down Zoe's, so I would imagine that's when that all took place. But interesting that Tlalamba was also around. We definitely didn't find her tracks there. It looked like just Thandi's tracks. What was also interesting is that there was a place where it looked like Hosana and a female were actually playing. So they were kind of running around each other and looked like they were having a good time. So who knows? Difficult to say. With these leopards, anything is possible at the moment and could be any one of them and any combination at this stage. But I would imagine, given that Thandi was seen on the dam cam, that those tracks must be for her, some of them at least. I don't see where they've gone though, these tracks that were on the road. Seems to have cut across. Now Herbie's just showing me where they were. So you can see here in the road where he kind of walked. So he's walked here, and I'm interested to see where he kind of goes from here. It's going to be very, very interesting to kind of figure out his pathways. This is quite far northwest since he's been back. He hasn't really moved around in this area that much of late, and it seems as though, you know, he's kind of expanding out a little bit. The more that Tingana walks around and does his thing, the more that Hosana seems to be doing the same thing as well. So it's interesting that he's kind of come up here. I didn't expect him to come this far up. It seems as though he's gone back northwards. Joshua, no, I don't believe they exist here anymore. James stole all the honey badgers and used them for himself and had all the sightings, and now they've disappeared again. So no, I haven't seen a honey badger in quite some time. The last honey badger sighting I know of was the long one that James had, the 45-minute sighting that he kind of saw. So that's the only sort of sighting I've had. I mean, there's tracks around, and there's, let's get that off the road before that punctures a tire. There's tracks around, and we see signs of them, but no actual physical sightings of a honey badger. And we did all of that drone testing, driving around at night, not one honey badger for us in all those mornings that we were out. So we're going to try and see where these kind of go. In the meantime, though, after me jabbering away for quite some time, let's send you back across to Brentley Smith, who I believe has got a lion doing what it does best, and that is lying on the road.
Well, it's starting to get hot. The sun is breaking through the clouds here in the Masai Mara, and this lioness has decided, since there's no convenient tree around, she's just going to have a snooze in the shade of one of the safari vehicles. Now, in areas where lions are used to safari vehicles, this is not that uncommon. And I've lost sight of the second lioness, although apparently she's there as well somewhere. And she has caused a massive traffic jam now, as no one can move their cars. Yes, you. Oh, she's looking at someone in the vehicle now. So the more I look at these lionesses, there are definitely two of them are Goro females. So the female with the missing tip to her tail is missing from the pride. Shelley says she'd give anything to have that kind of roadblock. Well, it is quite a nice roadblock, Shelley. And she has caused lots of pandemonium. There's probably about 15 cars behind us that can't get through either, so there's not much we can do about this now. We're just going to sit and wait. Jojo says that lioness has all the power and control. Well, she does. The Mara is for the animals, and we're just visitors here. Now the thing is, it's so wet, you can't even drive around her because you'd just get stuck. You wouldn't be able to climb over. Okay, well, we're going to play the patience game here with this lioness. Let's send you across to James, who's got something a lion might like to eat.
I'm laughing because just before you came to us, David had managed to find the blue waxbill, which is, of course, is a tiny finch-like bird that I really think a lion wouldn't give two looks at. Anyway, certainly it might like to eat that nyala. It's going to struggle to find one in the Masai Mara. They don't really occur there. No further evidence of leopards or sign of them. I'm therefore not going to speak of them again until we next find one. There has been talk of wild dogs on Chitwa Chitwa, so we'll head down in that direction. I'm not guaranteeing anything. It's one of those mornings where, as I said at the beginning, I am just behind the 8-ball. In other words, I'm just not quite plugged in to the wilderness. What should we call it? I don't want to call it the wilderness matrix. The wilderness, I suppose it's the energy of the place, really. You can't quite fathom what's happening out here. So you just have to take what comes. And there we are. It's a beautiful female nyala, having a little browse. Davy, the mosquitoes out here, it depends on the time of the year. In winter, they're really not bad at all. But I will tell you that we have had a horrendous time of them in the last few days. Every time I go into my room, I have to turn the fan on to full, and that gets rid of them. But it sounds like there are millions of them in there going... which, of course, is a very unpleasant sound. Especially if you think that some of them carry malaria. In summertime, they can be pretty bad. Malaria in this particular area isn't so bad, but that's because there aren't a lot of people. The malarial parasite, as I've explained a number of times, needs both human and mosquito host. And so if the malarial mosquito can't find a lot of human beings next to each other, often the parasite can't survive. But in thickly populated areas where conditions are right, well, then malaria thrives. And still out in these rural areas, despite the fact that we're in 2018, people die of malaria. This says a lot for the healthcare skills of our government. It really is unacceptable. It's entirely possible to cure malaria. There's no reason it can't be cured. I'm not sure that it's possible to eradicate it. It's certainly possible to cure it. No one should die of malaria in 2018. I don't think so, Chitty Chatty Meg. Let's just look at that strange picture of a Swainson spurfowl that seems to be burrowing in the ground there. And I'm not sure. Sorry, the radio's just gone off in my ear, so I became distracted. I don't know if every tick bite or every tick carries tick bite fever. I certainly have been bitten by hundreds, probably thousands of ticks and not received tick bite fever from them. That might just be because I'm immune to it in this particular area. I suspect that they don't all carry it. Must be looking for ants. I'm sure digging for ants there. Alrighty, Brent's lions seem to be hungry, so let's go back across to him and see if they don't get very lucky with their herd of wildebeest across the plains of the Masai Mara.
Well, they've not so much hungry as just really want to catch wildebeest because they are here. So you can see just to the left of her, there's some wildebeest in the grass with their heads down, and she's been slowly stalking towards them. Now, she's made quite a lot of ground on them so far. see what she does now. Second lioness is now following her. We're just going to wait another minute or two to see what they do. If she does start heading straight towards those wildebeest, then I think the action is on. The wildebeest are not paying any attention at the moment. Their heads are down in the long grass. Oh, a head popped. But did they spot the lions? I don't think so, not just yet. Now, of course, with those fat bellies, they might change their mind, but you never know. Dave says, my heart is in my throat. Oh, see now the wildies are starting to move. What is happening now? The second lioness is just plonked down. First lioness is still looking like she does have some intention, but if she doesn't make her move quite soon, she's going to be out of luck. So those wildebeest are going to cross the road. And there is the answer to the age-old question. Why did the wildebeest cross the road? To get away from the lions. I don't know if she's going to make a move now. Amy is asking, are they far away from the big herd? No, Amy, there's a lot of big herds around. There's a big herd just to the left on the other side of the road where these other wildebeest are heading. But it looks like she might have missed her opportunity there. As the wildebeest move away, she's going to be in the only patch of this part of the Mara that's devoid of wildebeest for now. Oh dear, ladies, not fast enough. Those big bellies have been weighing you down. I think they're probably just going to plonk down there in the long grass somewhere now. Maybe move towards one of the little gardenias that are not too far off. Well, hello Kelly, and a big welcome to the SafariLive family. Kelly says she loves seeing the wildebeest. They've got such a unique look to them. Indeed they have, Kelly. Now, there's an old African folklore that they were the laziest of animals, and when the creator was giving away all the bits and bobs, they were too busy eating grass to get to the head of the lion first, so they got all the leftover bits, and that's why they look so funny. Well, dear ladies, the wildebeest all behind you. You're looking the wrong way.
There's one.
Oh, there's one, James says they're looking at. Oh, there's one wildebeest over there. Vara Skona, an excellent question. Do lions ever leave their territory to follow the herds? Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes they do. You do get nomadic male lions that will follow the herds for extended periods, but most of the prides will stay in one spot. Now, that wildebeest is also moving away. These ladies are choosing the wrong place to hunt this morning. But as I said, they've got lots of fat bellies, so it looks like they've already killed at least once overnight, or maybe even twice. So we'll see what happens. One's already disappeared. Now she's walking towards the other. So let's just have a look where they go. Hi, Carol. Carol would like to know, are buffalo part of the migration? Carol, no. Buffalo are resident. They do not move during the migration. They have little seasonal migrations of their own where they will move around the Mara, but they don't certainly travel the hundreds of kilometers that the rest of the wildebeest and zebra do. So, bye guys. So the buffalo are not part of the migration. Yes, I think they're going to head towards those little bushes for a snooze. And unfortunately, that is in the non-off-roading side. That is the high usage zone. So will we not be following them any further? And she's heading towards that little bush. It's amazing how a big lion can disappear into the smallest of bushes. Yep, flat cats. I think they're probably going to wait there for a while. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that male lions are always with the females. They are not. So male lions are often have more than one pride of females that they lord over. And what they do is they are out either courting their other lady friends, or they might be out on a territorial patrol. I haven't seen any males this morning, which doesn't mean they are not around. Okay, well, I think I'm going to leave these ladies to lounge in the long grass. While we do that, let's go see how Tristan's search for lions back in South Africa is going.
Brent, I'm not looking for lions for the third time today. I've been on a leopard trail all morning. But anyway, we're going to carry on with our morning. Unfortunately, the leopard tracks that we found, there's just too many, and what we've figured out when I looked at those tracks just now after we went off air and I had a proper look, that track is not for Hosanna at all. It is for Hukamuri. There's that signature long toe that he's got that is in that track, and so it's for him and Shadulu that have gone off. It seems as though Hosanna was around. His tracks were in there at some point, slightly smaller, and have kind of turned, I think, back towards this way, so we're just cutting back towards the pan. But what I was looking at was when we were walking is that it looks so barren and dry out here that everything always looks as though it's dead. It looks as though, nothing is really kind of alive at the moment in these dry wintry conditions, and this particular tree is an example of that. It looks very kind of dead and dry, and as though nothing is going on. But funny enough, if you actually look at it, there is quite a bit of life happening here. So there is still pods on this particular tree itself, and if you follow the kind of bark and you go all the way down the trunk of the tree, it's actually still attached to the ground, so there is still nutrients coming in. So there will be branches that are going to coppice and grow now instead of sideways like these, that will start growing straight up, and those will then eventually get leaves and be able to then produce some sort of sign of a tree that's actually growing again. But for now, these kind of lower branches will eventually then drop off and die, and the new ones will start coming up. So even though the tree's been pushed over and it looks like it's dead, there is actually still some life. The other thing that we've got on here is in the background is that you can see there is a fungus that is growing, or there we go, sorry for I know it's a lot in the way, but there is a little fungus that is kind of growing off of this particular plant. Now which fungus this is, I'm not 100% sure. It's not old man's beard, and it could actually be even a lichen that is growing there. It could be a lichen that is there. It's difficult to say. But essentially, that's just kind of coming off, and it's got a little bit of green. And so, like I was saying, sometimes when there is a lot of dead sort of trees and things around, you think that nothing is actually happening, but there is. I mean, this is a little parasite that is on the tree itself at the moment that will be absorbing some of the nutrients. And what you can find is if you break some of these trees, sorry, Ferg, I'm just going to try and drop it down because it's holding it up. If you break the tree itself and the branch, you can actually see that inside there is still green. So it's still fleshy, it's still healthy. It's just that it's dropped all its leaves to basically protect itself in this cold weather. So you can see that there is not dry and dead at all, but actually still has some semblance of nutrition that's flowing through it. And it'll eventually end in a little leaflet. So there's the little leaflet on this side. That looks as though it's dried up now, and that will be because of winter. And soon that will then start to grow out again. Well, not now because I've broken it off, but in the summer. I can hear a hyena calling by the sounds of things. Just want to listen again. It almost sounded like a young hyena, which is why I'm listening very intently. We've just come past the old hyena den. It almost sounded like when they beg for food and they want to suckle and they're not being allowed to. That's almost what it sounded like. Can you see something moving, Fergus? Is it not the impalas that are moving there? There were some impalas that were around, so it could be them, but that squeal sounded just like a hyena begging for food. Interesting. You might have to come and scratch around here with a vehicle later and just kind of have a little look around. But there you can see the impalas that are just also taking a little time out to listen to what's going on. Okay, well, I'm going to just chat to Herbie, see what he thinks and where that sound came from. While I do that and we admire the impalas, let's send you back across to James, who is just bumbling about.
Lots of sounds coming from all over the place, prospects of death, maiming predators, and absolutely no sight of any of them. Now, I'm told that the wild dogs put Guchava into a tree around here. I don't mean they'd put her in there physically, they chased her up into a tree somewhere around here. Naturally, the game drive radio in this vicinity is about as useful as a... I can't think of anything clever to say. Not very useful is what I'm trying to say. So let's just drive slowly along here. I'll try and get an update on the radio. Any station Chitwa copy me? No. No help. So we'll just blunder in here, shall we? Let's blunder into Chitwa. We'll and blunder into a leopard. That'd be nice. I'd like to blunder into something useful today. We've now blundered into Chitwa, everybody. This is us blundering. Enjoy a good blunder now and again. It's a good word, blunder, really. No leopards there. No wild dogs. Just leafless marula trees beneath a gunmetal grey sky that looks about as cheerful as my soul feels right now. While we listen, let's just stop here and look at that little cheerfulness there on the tree. We have some flowers, which is quite nice. Those are the flowers of the knobthorn. Sam, very few animals migrate in South Africa because of the quality of the forage, because of course here in the Kruger National Park it's winter all at the same time and summer all at the same time, which means that the quality of the forage is pretty similar throughout the park at all times of the year. There are some minor migrations, but nothing large, and certainly the migration or the movement of animals has been curtailed by the provision of artificial water, and so there's really no need for animals to migrate. There used to be, of course, as I think a number of us have mentioned, a massive massive migration of animals in this area. It was, of course, the migration of the springbok, which I think they think was bigger than the wildebeest migration at one stage. The springbok is our national animal. It is a gazelle. Looks a little bit like a Thompson's gazelle. In fact, looks very like a Thompson's gazelle. And they don't occur here, but they used to migrate in massive numbers from the northern parts of the country, where they'd spend the summer, and then head down south across the Karoo over the course of the winter. I think that's the way they did it. And that was unfortunately destroyed by human beings, as so many nice things in nature have been. And it was destroyed by the erection of fences and the dividing of the land into basically sheep farms. And so that stopped that migration. I don't suppose it was greatly helped by the propensity of the original settlers to shoot anything they could find and then turn it into meat or shoes. It's distressing that human beings to this day seem to have that propensity. We'll just look at these zebras now while I try and get hold of somebody on the radio here. The last station, are you calling me? If there's one there, I would love very greatly to come to it. Right, there is a leopard there. Hooray. She's got a kill. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to arrive at a leopard very shortly. Let's go back across to Brent while we get there. What was that? Did she say cancel that? What? 10 seconds. We are going across to Brent. We'll see you at the leopard.
Welcome back, and we are away from the lions now. We're going to have a quick look at the crossings. So there's some wildies building up on the ridges above the crossings, and we are hoping that today they might come down towards the crossings. But we're just going to go have a quick look. It's a nice part of the Mara. It's a beautiful morning. It was pretty cold this morning. It actually got colder the longer it went on. Just looking for muddy lion tracks here. See if old Scarface is around or any of the other musketeers. They've been spending a lot more time down south this year, below Serena, in an area where we unfortunately don't have signal. So we haven't seen the musketeers as much as we did last year. That's mostly because the wildebeest have been down there. They haven't been in this area where they traditionally are this year too much. Now, I know a lot of you know Jamie was helping Mara Conservancy yesterday. There was a snared baby Ellie. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it out of the forest before dark, and as far as I know, they are looking for it this morning. So we will keep you updated on that situation as soon as and as we get more information. At the moment, that's all the information we have. What are you running from, Topi? No, just running for the joy of the morn. Let's go down to cul-de-sac crossing, have a quick squiz. Hi, Carol. Yes, Carol, zebras are born with stripes like leopards are born with spots. They're a little bit sort of fluffier when they're younger. And not quite as distinct, but yes, they are born with stripes. Now, I'm hoping now that the sun's come out a little bit, we might see some Mara River behemoths lying out in the sunshine. And again, this is always a good spot to look for lions of the paradise pride. It's got a bit sticky here this morning. So we said we've had lots and lots of rain. So some of these areas are getting a little bit sticky. Hold on, bumpity, 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 splashity, splashity, splash. Slipperty, slidety, slidety, slide. Oh! You guys must be hungry this year. I'm sure the river's actually come up a lot since yesterday even. So here we go, we've got some monster crocs. They're not quite out of the water yet. It has been quite a chilly morning, so they're still in the water. Cobalt was asking, do cheetah or lion do better during the migration? I'd say they both do very well, as there's a lot of food around. These guys must be starving. They haven't had the time of plenty as they normally do by this time of the year. So I think any poor creature that decides to cross. Lone Thompson's gazelle, are you going to be that dwarf? There's a lone Thompson's... No, he's not going to be that dwarf. Yes, you would have been snacked in a second, Tommy. There was one male Thompson's gazelle who looked... He's just gone behind the bush now. But he looked like he was thinking, maybe I'll chance it. Oh, to the hippo. Where's that Tommy gone? Oh, there's an African pied wagtail right next to us. Just pop... No, right next to us. Oh, they're the hippos, but right next to us, African pied wagtail on the ground. There he is. Pretty birds. Oh, have we got some suicidal topi? You never know. Some topi just started jogging towards us. I've lost sight of that lone Tommy. He decided discretion was the better part of valor. A lone Thompson's gazelle crossing here would be absolute suicide. Now, where are those topi gone? Everything just keeps disappearing as I spot it. They went into the long grass. What you spotted? Yeah. Is that Tommy back? Thompson's? Are you mad? Tommy, are you crazy? Oh, that's it. There's a crocodile fight. That was the end of that. There's a big crocodile fight going on, and that scared the Tommy. The Tommy changed his mind very quickly when those crocs had a bit of a bite at each other. I mean, just look at them. They're just waiting, and a small little morsel like a Tommy would not last 2 bites. Crocs, you ruined your own breakfast there by having an argument. Okay, well, not much happening here now that that little Tommy got chased off. So we're going to go check the next crossing to the south of us. While we do that, let's go see Tristan. Oh wait, there's a hippo coming out of the water. Let's have a look at that. Sorry, I was not watching my monitor, James. That was completely my fault. There we go. Wait for the hippo to come out and have a bit of a tan, possibly. Are we? There we go. Stretch those fat legs. Don't slip in the mud. Oh, here we go. The hippo has come out. A bit later today, you can often, or in this area, you can have 15 or 20 hippo lying on that beach, just lounging and enjoying themselves. Okay, well, that hippo looks for a spot to snuggle down in. Let's send you back to Tristan, who's got the most dangerous. Oh, no, we're not going back to Tristan. We're staying here in the Mara. You can hear the frogs as well. Oh, we are going to send you back to South Africa now, but to Commander Bond.
Right, we've come across our leopard. It is Guchava, the female leopard. She has a kill. The kill is not visible from where we're sitting right now, but there is the leopard. Isn't that wonderful? Thank goodness for that. Now this, in case you don't know, is Tundi's daughter. Hello, how are you? Good, very well. Thank you for guiding me in here. It's been a frustrating morning. Thank you. That'll be great. Okay. Cool. Can you get out there or do you want me to move? Sorry? Yeah, okay. We're just going to move so that Sheldon can get out. He's guided us in here, which is very nice of him. And while we do that, we'll show you the kill. Fine. There's the kill. Now, there were wild dogs around here, and I wonder if she didn't thieve it from them. She could easily have thieved it from them and put it up that tree. I don't think that she'd have chosen that particular dead tree unless she'd been in a real hurry. And of course wild dogs would be that hurry. Okay, we can move forward now, back to where we were. There we go. Hello my dear, how are you? Very nice to see you. Hathis, you say this has been worth the wait. Well, I'm glad you say so. It's certainly been a frustrating morning, saved by Sheldon of Chitwa Chitwa. And that is Tundi's, not first daughter, but one of her daughters. Very nice to see her. And you can see, I mean, how beautifully camouflaged she is over there. It's unsurprising that it hasn't been very easy to find one. There's a bit of screaming from one of the viewers, not viewers, from one of the guests. Yes, it does, doesn't it, Jason? I agree, that kill does look like something from Halloween. She's very contented. So there were wild dogs here, like I said. I'm not sure where they've gone. Apparently they put her in a tree. I suspect that they put her in a tree because she stole their food. And now they've moved off. They don't bear a grudge. They've gone off to find something else to eat. And I say that just simply because of the way that that carcass has been fed on and eaten. It looks like it was torn to shreds by some wild dogs. So we talk a lot about hyenas being scavengers, and we talk a little bit more about lions being scavengers, but we really have over the last little while learnt a huge amount about how much leopards will scavenge both from each other and from other species. Tingana is a scavenger par excellence. Horsana is as well. So is Tundi. And so apparently is Tundi's daughter, Guchava. She's also, like all leopards, a very clean kitty. Yeah, I know what you mean, Ruby. It is, I mean, that's one of the downers of working out here and taking an interest in these animals like we do. When they do lose their youngsters, it is very heartbreaking. And we only had one real sort of proper sighting over a few days with her youngster. He was an unnamed male leopard, and we don't know what happened to him. He's obviously dead. She's been mating again. And so young Dennis, as we called him amusingly, decided, well, just didn't make it. Don't know why he didn't make it. He's a very sweet little fellow, but they all are, aren't they? And it is heartbreaking when they disappear. It's even worse when you get to know them, like we did with Shongile, for example, or Vutomi, which were two leopards that didn't make it much past their first birthdays. Don't know what happened to them. remember the day Vutomi died, actually. I think they did find his body. She does have impressive whiskers. I mean, a lot of leopards have impressive whiskers. The most impressive set of whiskers I've ever seen were on her brother, Tumba. He had exceptional whiskers. Horsana's got much shorter whiskers than she does. And I think much shorter than Tumba's as well. She'll be very contented now, knowing that she's got lots to eat, nothing's going to get at it, and she's perfectly safe, hidden as she is. David, you get yourself into trouble making comments like that, but yes, it's possible, I suppose. You say she looks a lot like Mvula and Thandi. I'm going to say that maybe you're right. I certainly am unable to see that that is a combination of the two leopards, but I don't have a very good ability to recognize these animals. There's no question that Shadow and Thandi looked very similar, and they in turn looked a bit like their mother. Now, as far as we know, Mvula was her father. I think that's correct. I can never keep up. Mvula was another male leopard, if you are a new viewer, who died relatively young, I suppose. Well, I think he was about 12, actually. But he wasn't territorial for a long time before that. Those whiskers are impressive. A Vegas cat lover, leopards do inbreed all the time, and it doesn't seem to have any deleterious effects on their offspring. From time to time, I suppose, over a number of generations it would. You might have a leopard born with 3 ears or 6 claws on one hand or something like that, but it's very unusual. And it's almost expected amongst the cats that there will be a certain amount of inbreeding from time to time. She'll be very aware, because of course that meat is now giving off a smell, and so lots of hyenas and other scavengers could come in here, including the ultimate scavenger himself, Tingana. Wisteria Whisper, you said it's good to see Guchava again. It has been a while. Yes, it has, absolutely. You know, over the last little while we've been so focused on our 4 leopards, Thandi, Tlalamba, Horsana and Tingana, for the TV shows, that, yeah, we have almost neglected to go and try and find anything else. And so now we can spread out a bit. Spend a bit more time with the, well, hopefully with Shidulu and Hukumuri. I know Tristan thinks he was following Hukumuri this morning now. I'm unconvinced, I have to say. I'm pretty sure that Tingana was sitting at the pan earlier this morning, and that's who he was following. But I stand to be corrected. I just don't see that Hukumuri would have come into that area and started shouting the odds this morning. Maybe there were 2 sets of tracks, I don't know. Well, interestingly, Poofy Poof, we had that sighting a little while back with Tingana and Thandi and Tlalamba. And when Tingana and Thandi met, there was absolutely no aggression from either of them. She was smelling him, and he just kind of looked at her. So, look, it wasn't an affectionate meeting. It wasn't like when lions meet up with each other. But there was no aggression to it whatsoever. So, yeah, Poofy Poof, there's no reason that it can't happen from time to time. It's not very common. But, you know, if leopards know each other, then, and they're not in competition, which of course male and female in theory are not, well then, yeah, they don't have to have aggressive meetings. Sorry about I wasn't winking at you there, Poofy Poof. It's just that the sun was in me eyes, and I had to shut me left eye. Well, this cat is going to go to sleep. It has exposed its kill to any bird that might come flying by, and so I suspect there'll be quite a lot of vultures around here earlier, at least later in the day. I can really see a batelier cruising in to have a look. Hopefully somebody will be able to come back here this afternoon, although I suspect it'll be full of people. But if not, we'll try and get in here as soon as we can. Thank you very much for joining us on this rather frustrating sunrise safari. Still, it was very pleasant, and I hope you had a good time. Your questions and comments, as always, much appreciated. We'll see you later this afternoon at 3:30. Till then, bye-bye.